So if you've read my books, you've heard me talk about this. When I was in college, freshman year, like the dorms, and lined up in front of my dorms were a bunch of companies giving out t-shirts, clock radios, and bike clocks. And I think a dictionary too, believe it or not, back then. And what they were really doing was giving you sign up for credit cards, right? So the credit cards came in and I used them, right? So I told myself that I was going to just use these credit cards for emergency purposes. And by the time I was a sophomore, I had $5,000 in credit card debt for emergency purposes. That was the beginning of my grown-up moment because that meant I had to go to work basically to get those cards paid off. I brought those cards to my father to discuss my problem, and my dad said, "Son, we don't have a problem. Those credit cards are in your name. You have the problem." So I started working really, really hard and kind of became an entrepreneur as a sophomore in college and then a junior to get those cards paid off. Then I was really proud of myself for getting out of debt. And then all those cards that got paid off, they all came back and gave me new cards with higher credit card limits. Well, what did I do? Did I learn? No. So here's my grown-up moment. All of a sudden I had over $10,000 in credit card debt. Now I'm a senior. It was the point where I'm opening up these credit cards, and I'll never forget this. I literally, it's so stupid, but it's like it was my grown-up moment because I can remember like it was yesterday. I remember my apartment. I remember sitting at the table, and I would cover my eyes, and I would open up the credit card bills. And I would get that, if you ever had this experience, you know what I'm talking about. It's like a hot flash. And I remember I opened up the bill, I got the hot flash, and the room started spinning. And I was like, how did I do this to myself? Because all the things that I'd spent money on, none of them were emergency purposes. None of them were things I had to go and do. They were all things I wanted to go and do. And now I was a senior with nearly $15,000 in credit card debt. So that was my grown-up moment because there was a point in which the pain was so bad that I cut up all those cards. I went to a debit card. When I got to college, I think it took me a year and a half to pay those cards off. I have never carried credit card debt since then, ever. Literally since those days, since I was basically, must have been 19, 20, no, must have been 21, 22. Since I graduated from college and got the credit cards paid off, I've never carried credit card debt month to month since then. And in fact, I used a debit card and American Express charge card all the way until like 5 years ago, where now I took advantage of some of these credit cards with a lot of points on them, but I still pay them off every single month. And that was my grown-up moment, and that was a hard grown-up moment to have, but it changed my whole life.